Hi, thanks for joining me. So, apologies about the backdrop here. It's probably not the best one I've ever had, but the lighting's okay in here. And yeah, I wanted to show off my Blu-ray anime collection. I actually have some pickups coming up, and a gift from Otakon, so I want to do those together in one video. But before I did that, I thought it might be a really cool idea to just, show you guys what I have on Blu-ray here, in case you guys are anime fans and, don't know some of this stuff's out on Blu-ray, or, I'd be curious to hear what you guys have on Blu-ray as well. When I started tallying it up, there's way more stuff here than I thought there was. So, so let's get started. Start off with the series I just talked about. I'm not going to talk about any of these at length, but this is Sailor Moon. Viz is releasing these. Of course, we got Sailor Moon first season, Sailor Moon R, and Sailor Moon S. I believe there's another couple seasons coming out of that, but I'm so excited about that. I'm buying those as they come out. I'm really happy with them. Same thing here. Another big collection. This is all of Ranma 1/2. And I was so excited when these were coming out. Again, you have to make a commitment if you want this stuff. I learned that in the past, and it's burned to me before, so just as these came out one by one, I bought each of them. It's a 7-volume set. You can see the last one I haven't even opened yet. I think I'm still watching the stuff from set 6, maybe, something like that. So I'd really like to finish up that series. I've never seen the whole thing. It does go on, probably a little bit longer than it really needed to. But yeah, great series. Rumiko Takahashi, kind of martial arts comedy series. You guys know about Ranma 1/2. It's really good. Just an FYI, there is a new set coming up for that, so just keep that in mind. Next up, we have the Tenchi Muyo movie collection. I'm a really big Tenchi Muyo fan. I was really happy when this came out. If you guys remember, I think I did an anime I watched, or pickup video about it, and it's like 1 out of 3, and pretty much that's especially good on here. Yeah, it's hard to fault it. The TV series to movies adaptations, sometimes they kind of go this route where they're not super great. And this was, I guess, technically an OVA series to start off with. But anyway, Tenchi movie collection. I'm really glad I got this. One of those movies, at least, is pretty good. I really like it quite a bit. Next up is the Evangelion movies. What is this, redo or whatever? This is, 111, you are not alone, 222, you cannot advance, and 333, you cannot redo. Yeah, this starts off really cool as essentially a standard retelling of the original TV series, and then it kind of goes off the rails into a really weird, embellished, alternate retelling of the original series. So, that's not really a bad thing. It's just, it's odd. Ava's odd. Evangelion is weird. So, this one is actually sealed, but that's not because I haven't seen it. I just ended up watching it via alternative means. Well, I didn't really do that. What I did was I bought the DVD by accident, and I watched that, and then I took it back and got the Blu-ray because I was just stupid and screwed up. So anyway, all those on Blu-ray. I'm curious to see the 4th one. I don't know if Anno and crew are going to get off their butts and do that at some point. I don't know if they just kind of lost their vision or what, but with any luck that's going to be coming up here, and we'll get to watch it. Next up, another series. We're kind of moving into this is sort of a movie and OVA series. So Berserk. They just did these in the past handful of years. I don't know, what, 4 or 5 years maybe, something like that. Maybe a little longer. Yeah, so this basically does the story. What is it? The Egg of the King. Is that what it is? The Golden Age arc. First one's the Egg of the King, Battle for Doldry, and the Advent. These are great. It's Berserk. They're a little bit of a mixed bag. It's a lot of CG stuff, which makes the battles cool with lots of people, but, some of the character faces and animations and stuff like that are a little stiff. But there's also 2D stuff worked into here, and honestly, I think this is a really cool retelling of the Golden Age arc. And it leads into the new TV series, which I think is good. I know a lot of people rag on it. I just don't think it has a big budget. It's Berserk. It's it deserves to be animated, but I think it's hard. It's kind of hard to market it in Japan, and you know, I just don't think they ever really give it quite as much of a fair shake as it deserves. So you know, I'm happy with what we get. Next up, Afro Samurai. These are really cool. This is like season 1. I really forget like the development behind this. I think it's an OVA series. I don't remember how long it is. I just remember I watched it and I really enjoyed it. This I think is like it's a special edition director's cut, Afro Samurai Resurrection. It says full-length feature film. So I kind of forget if this was like a film retelling of this or if it was its own thing. I kind of think it was its own thing. I guess I need to rewatch that, but both excellent. Really happy to have those. Next up, I'll grab this all as one bunch. This is my Studio Ghibli collection. I don't talk about Ghibli movies a lot because, yeah, it's just, I just kind of take it as default that like people know these and like them, because they're great. Nausicaa and the Valley of the Wind, classic. This was one of my absolute favorites back in the day. I might have just worn it out a little bit over the years, and I think that's true with some of these too. Some of the other movies have really come up to the fore for me that I like better now. But that's just excellent. Classic Ghibli. We've got Castle in the Sky, Laputa, Castle in the Sky, which is very good. Kiki's Delivery Service. Spoiler, this is my favorite Studio Ghibli movie, I think, right now. I just can come back to this one. Something about it I think really resonates. Just with like, you know, someone trying to like strike out on their own. It's a very charming, very good, good movie. Whisper of the Heart. I always think of it as Whispers of the Heart. Anyway, this one is probably one of my less favorite Ghibli movies, but it's still good, and yeah, you know, I had to pick it on Blu-ray. I think I got some of these like when they were on sale on Amazon. They were having a good sale, so anyway, happy to have that one. Pompoko, this is another one of my absolute favorites. This was sort of the alternate director, Takahata, I think. Worked on this one, and I love this movie a lot. Might be my second favorite Ghibli movie in some ways. It has such a wonderful, like, kind of ecological story to it that is told in such a fun, fantastical way. I really think that this is probably a bit underrated in their catalog. It's one of my absolute faves. Another one I really like a lot is Porco Rosso. I don't think you get this one talked about a lot, but it's just a really charming tale, almost like a kind of a tale of redemption, or I don't know what. I feel like it's a little maybe autobiographical in a, you know, again, a very fantastical, whimsical way about Hayao Miyazaki. It's a really cool movie. It's a lot of fun. It's sort of simple and fun. It's really good. Princess Mononoke, another absolute classic. I love this movie. It definitely rates very high up there in the works of Ghibli. I think Princess Mononoke is an absolute classic. Very good movie, which I'm sure you guys know. So now we're going to move on to more like one-off movies and OVAs. The Skycrawlers. Another movie that I think belongs right up there with the Ghibli movies. This is a Mamoru Oshii and kind of most of the crew that kind of, you know, worked on the Ghost in the Shell type of stuff. You know, Oshii is best since the original Ghost in the Shell. I actually absolutely agree with that statement on the front cover here. I have to admit, I haven't seen all of Oshii's like newer live action works and stuff like that. I've seen some of them, like Avalon, which I think is quite good. But I just think this one is excellent. I've talked about it before, so I'm going to go on about all these. But very good movie. Short piece. I've talked about this one before. Again, I think I've explained that really the one of this that you want to get is the PlayStation 3 version. It has these shorts on it, which there's I think 4 of them on here. They're really great, very excellent stories. Different directors, very great animation, all kind of like compiled by not Mamoru Oshii. Yes, that guy. The Akira guy, Otomo, Katsuhiro Otomo. Yeah, and there's a video game component to it. So if you get the PlayStation 3 version, you'll get the game chapter as well, which is really cool. Next, Kite. Now, I remember talking about this when I picked it up. This is really good, actually. I needed to rewatch it, and this is like a cut version that doesn't have like some of the kind of graphic content in it, and it's still good. This is a cool thing. I actually really think I think it's probably one of the reasons why some of like the graphic sexual content was taken out of it, because I think it kind of stands above like its sort of, I don't know, its genre, I guess. It's like, I don't know, it's good. It's sort of like a hard-boiled action. It's almost like La Femme Nikita or something like that, where you have this like female assassin who's kind of being exploited by this like crooked cop, and I don't know, it's very good. So yeah, I like this quite a bit. There's another one, Kite Liberator, and I actually haven't seen this one, so I'd really like to check it out. And we have probably one of the most disappointing Blu-ray purchases in my collection, which is High School of the Dead, the OVA. This is, I think, literally like 10 or 15 minutes long. It's really short. I wish they had just included it on the original box set, but the complete series, this might not have been out at the time, and I don't know. I'm glad they released it. It's not all that good in OVA either, so oh well. Sometimes that's gonna happen. Next up we have K-On! The movie. Now, I really like K-On! I don't actually have this TV series, and I think I've kept it at arm's length because I remember reading about some sort of big ordeal, some big snafu with the licensing for the music for it, and music is such a big part of this series that if they're going to release this, they have to release it with the original soundtrack. So anyway, I picked up the movie, though. As far as I know, the music is the same in this as it was in Japan, and it's super good. I mean, it's maybe not super good, it's just like sort of more K-On! In a movie, and it's fun. I love these characters. I love their antics, and and they're a band, like a high school band. This kind of shows them, well, really just taking a trip to England, and it's cool. I like it a lot. Next up we have Appleseed Alpha. This is one that is, as far as I'm concerned, part of this weird, like, continued Appleseed universe that's sort of kept going. Each one is kind of, like, decent and pretty good, but, like, I don't feel like I don't know, like, I feel like they're just okay, I guess. I kind of like watching them, so I sort of liked owning this. I kind of liked watching it. It's just like I don't feel like it adds a ton to the sort of story and mythology of Appleseed. It's sort of just like a little more stuff happening in the same universe. It's interesting and it's fun. If you like Appleseed, I definitely recommend getting the additional Appleseeds that have come out over the years. This one is The Disappearance of Haruhi Suzumiya. This is probably one of my favorite anime movies. I really enjoy this a lot. I've watched it over and over. It's I think a really good story from the Suzumiya Haruhi universe, and it's done really well. This is like a weird package for a Blu-ray too. Normally, like a Blu-ray combo packs are going to come in a Blu-ray case. This one's in a DVD case. Don't know why. But this is a cool release, and it's a good movie. So if you like Haruhi especially, I would recommend checking that out. Doesn't suffer from the awfulness that was the second season and Endless 8. So if you need like a little palate cleanser after that, that's the one to watch. Next up, very, very cool OVA series, Gunslinger Girl. There's actually two series in this, and I have both of them. These, I believe, were animated by Studio Madhouse. I could be wrong on that, but the animation is really, really good in this, regardless. Crap, now I really want to see, but I don't know if they say. Anyway, yeah, so the two series are a little bit different. I think the first one was really helmed by like somebody in the studio, and I really like it. I really like the tone. I really like the music. It's these girls that are basically like, they're kind of like orphaned, or in some way like have lost their parents. They're sort of like it's sort of like RoboCop, basically. You know, they're maybe like dying on their deathbeds or something, and they're taken in by this government agency, like given cybernetic implants and basically turned into assassins. But it's just a really interesting story. Like it's sort of more about the characters a little bit, and you know, again, like sort of some of those themes that I find really interesting in these sort of things, like you know, sort of like dealing with like half humanity or being sort of part cyborg, being more robotic, being less robotic, I don't know. They're charming, interesting stories too. So I think that this sometimes like kind of really sad and melancholy too. This one is sort of its own thing, but it is based really directly on the manga series. This one is actually, I think the helm was taken by the manga author. So this one has a slightly different feeling to it. I still really like it. I think it's still really good. The animation isn't quite as good, but it's still a really cool series. And I think this focuses just a little bit more on kind of like the action and just sort of like the everyday. Maybe not delving so much into the characters and sort of their condition, but just a little bit more of like a kind of an action story. But they're still both really good. I actually really like both seasons. This is Hyper Dimension. I've got to look because they've had so many different ones. Hyperdimension Neptunia. And actually, maybe I should show this off first. I actually have one of the Japanese volumes of Blu-ray. This is actually the entire series. This one, I think it was split up into quite a few, maybe like... well, this is volume 7, so they really milked this a lot. I think they probably did like 6 2-episode Blu-rays, and then this might have been like a one-episode Blu-ray with an Nendoroid that came with it. So really this is actually just a figurine that I bought, and I just sort of happen to have the Blu-ray. Probably never really going to watch it. I feel sort of bad about that, but I'm not going to get rid of it because, you know, it goes with the figurine that I have. This, however, is the whole series. This is the North American English release from Funimation, and it's really good. If you like Neptunia, this is super fun. I think it gets better and better as it goes on. The first 3 or 4 episodes are just like, okay, whatever, but I know somehow it just gets better and better. The characters are just very similar to what they are in the video games, and I think they're a ton of fun, so I really like that. Next up is Noir. This is an excellent series. I really, really like it. In some ways, it might be a little more style over substance, but that said, like, this is kind of similar to Gunslinger Girl, except that nothing to do with cyborgs. You have these two girls that are assassins, however. And it's interesting because you have this element of mystery where this one girl kind of like lost her memory, doesn't really know what she is, but she knows about Noir, kind of, and she's also like this like incredibly skilled assassin, basically, like right, you know, just from the start. So she kind of like hooks up with this assassin who's working under the name Noir, but there's kind of this mystique over like the Noir handle. Like it seems like it's kind of been something that these assassins have used over like generations and hundreds of years. So in some ways it's kind of about just the relationship between these two young ladies who they're both killers. Like, it's possible that they're both, you know, could kill each other, but they, you know, they sort of build up this relationship where, like, this one girl kind of, like, she just doesn't know who she is and she needs help, and but she's also very skilled, and then this other woman who's, like, kind of been working under this assassin name, but she's kind of wondering, like, if she really deserves it, and the more she learns about Noir, the more she sort of feels like, you know, maybe like there's more to this than she ever really thought. And it's interesting. It's also like just sort of a good action series, and wonderful music, excellent atmosphere, very, very unique animation. It's really, I think, a classic. I mean, it's under the anime classics label here from, I think it's Funimation that does these, and I think it deserves that moniker. Very, very cool series. Next up, we have Queen's Blade. This is just the first series. This is the Exiled Virgin, and this is such a guilty pleasure. It's so so guilty pleasure, but I actually really love this series. It's basically like these warriors, like kind of this all-female competition for the title of queen, basically, for like ruler of the land. And I don't know, it happens every so many years, and it's administered by like angels from heaven that come down and you know, conduct this Queen's Blade tournament, and determine the ruler for the next whatever decade or something like that. And so you have all these female fighters, and like there are always boobs, like exposed boobs, basically, in each episode. That's like what this is, for whatever reason. But it's totally fun. It's super fun. Like I said, really guilty pleasure. But the characters are fun in this. There isn't a whole lot of a story, but like somehow it's still it sounds like it should just be like cheesy fan service, which it is in some ways, but it's not like mindless fan service. The OVA for this is mindless fan service. It's awful, but this is actually really well done. Like the animation's good, the music's good, like the pacing is good. I sort of like the little storyline that they bring you through with the characters. It's a lot of fun. Next up, another one that purchase that I do kind of regret slightly, and most of these I'm really, really pleased to have. This is Robotics Notes. I loved Steins Gate so much that I wanted to get Robotics Notes. This was, you know, on Blu-ray, and it was like a super saver, so it was fairly affordable. It's ultimately not that great. I heard a lot of people say that it's not that great, and I'm like, it can't be that bad. And it's not that bad, but it's just not that good. Somehow it just kind of fumbles. I think a lot of the stuff that it's trying to do. There's mystery, you know, you're sort of going through and uncovering all this mystery, and like there's this group of students that are building a robot, you know, as part of their robotics club at their school, and I don't know, there's just somehow all of the elements of this just like don't come together to make a really cohesive whole. It's not greater than the sum of its parts. It almost like all the parts just sort of, they kind of don't really align, and it just ends up being like less than the sum of its parts. So that's too bad, but you know, I guess you can't win them all. I'm not planning to get rid of that either in particular. I'm definitely keeping that around, at least for now. Next up, Galaxy Angel. I've talked about this quite a bunch. It's like a parody series, kind of. Again, almost like a little bit of a guilty pleasure, but it's just fun. It's like a goofy comedy series about these girls that are like a group of space, almost a little, maybe like a little bit of a parody of Dirty Pair, where they're sort of like trouble consultants in a way, but you know, a larger team, and it's a lot of fun actually. Some pretty good comedy in this whole series. It goes on for quite a number of seasons, so this is the first season. I absolutely had to have that. Next up, Long Biore. This is actually the 2 series of this so far. This is just such a great show. You can find this on Crunchyroll, but I wanted to own this on Blu-ray because I like it so much. You know, it's one of those things. If Crunchyroll, whoever owns this, Sentai Filmworks, you know, decides to take this down from Crunchyroll, you're not going to be able to see it unless you got it on disc. So I just like to have things that I really, really enjoy like that on this. And this is really an excellent slice of life series. Just can't say enough good things about it. If you guys have seen it, you know what I'm talking about. High School of the Dead, another one that I think is just a must-have on Blu-ray. Pretty fan servicey, but I like zombie stuff, and I think this is a fun zombie story. You know, these kids in high school, zombie outbreak happens. I really like the whole everything going to hell feeling that this one has, and you know, and again, it is cheesy, and it may be a little bit of a guilty pleasure. There's a lot of goofy fan service in this, but I think it's done well. You know, I think like they kind of take the fan service seriously, so it's kind of tongue-in-cheek, but it also is like, I think it makes a cohesive whole. Like, this is a really cool series, and I'm really bummed out because I believe the manga creator passed away, so you know, I think there was more stories in the manga, so if they ever decide to animate more, I think they've got a little bit of material, but I don't know if we'll ever see that. Watamote, another one that I saw on Crunchyroll, and just such a funny series. I absolutely love Kotoko, I believe her name is. Is that right? I think it's Kuroki. Kuroki. Whatever her first name is. Anyway, she's excellent, and it's just like this horrendously like awkward otaku girl. I mean, basically kind of like me. I'm here struggling with my words like she would if she was talking to anybody ever. And it's all of her like ways of trying to kind of like break out of her shell and become a popular person when like she's completely and utterly incapable of you know, even the slightest bit of like sort of social interaction or just social competency, and it's wonderful. As from what I read, it's based on like some actual stories that people like sent in to the authors and just some of their own personal experiences that I just think it's really great. I'm really happy to have that on Blu-ray. Next up we have Nadia, The Secret of Blue Water. A classic from Gainax. If you guys like Evangelion, you really ought to see Nadia, The Secret of Blue Water. I wasn't fully on board with this. Like, buddies of mine back when I was first getting into anime are like, oh, you gotta see Nadia, and I'm like, you know, like I watched some of it. It's a little hard to get into, I think, sometimes, but if you really stick with it, get through the first 10, 12 episodes. I know that seems like a lot. I think it's a couple seasons, and it's super good. It's really, really good, and it lays the foundation for a lot of the themes that are covered in Evangelion later on. This is excellent. I love the Slayers, and this is actually 2 seasons, the 2 new seasons, newer. I think it's Slayers Revolution and Slayers Evolution R. So they call this one Slayers Revolution Rs because it's got both of the seasons. So excellent. I was actually really worried that this was not going to be that good. I think there were elements of like some of the some of the episodes that I was kind of like, but like once I sort of just watched both of the seasons and really just sort of let the Slayers nostalgia hit me and just sort of like really enjoyed the episodes also like for what they are. I love it. I love Slayers. I'm so happy to have this particular set on Blu-ray, and we're actually almost done here. Steins Gate, the complete series. I've said before on Twitter that, you know, if you are an anime fan at all, you owe it to yourself to check this out. I know some people will say that this is overrated, but I'm going to overrate it because I don't think it's overrated. I think it's excellent. Excuse me, I think it's an excellent sort of otaku culture series and an excellent time travel series. If you like time travel stories at all, I think this is really, really good. I think you have to have a little bit of patience for kind of like Akihabara and geek culture anime as well, which I think some people struggle with that aspect of the series, where I think you spend a lot of time with these characters. But there's a lot of foreshadowing in the series, and you get, I think, a lot of the like time travel sort of stuff, or like the geeky science fiction-y stuff as is a strong thread through the initial episodes. I just think, I don't know, maybe it's the pacing or just something to do with the characters that throws some people off with the series a little bit. It tends to be kind of maybe a love it or hate it, but I think for people that really stick it out, even people that are kind of hating the first part, once they get to the like second half of the series, I think a lot of people then are like, oh, okay, I get it, this is really cool. So for what that's worth, I think it's just one of the best anime series really to come out in the past like 10 or 20 years. Next up, it's also based on a video game, like visual novel adventure game that you guys can play if you want. A-Channel. This is one of my absolute favorite slice of life series. I know I've recommended this to people like The Completionist, and he watched it and was kind of like, that wounds my heart slightly, but I mean, you know, to each their own. It's not, I understand not everyone is going to love this like I do, but this is like a really straight up slice of life series, pretty formulaic. You've got these, 4 girls in school, and it's just about their antics in school. But something about this, the music is really good. They have these little musical montages in each episode. The characters are just really fun. I love like their tropey and maybe non-tropey parts too. I mean, I think there's some stuff about this that's like a little bit original, and it's just so well done. Like, the comedy is just so on point, like the style, the pacing, everything. Like, it's well animated. It's just I think they hit every note that I need hit with this series. It's one of my absolute favorites, very, very close to my heart. A-Channel. And another one that I could almost say similar things about, I don't know what it is about this that's just captured my heart so much, but Love Lab. I've watched this a few times. Again, these are, I don't know if A-Channel is available on Crunchyroll. It might be. Love Lab is, I know, and that's where I saw it originally, or I saw it online. Hey Maggie, what you doing? It's my dad's cat. Good girl. I love this. It's so good. Again, this is like a story of these girls in high school. They're going to an all-girls school, and so they're really interested in guys, and they're really interested in falling in love, but they don't have a lot of opportunities. And so like this one girl in particular like comes up with all these fantasies of like, you know, how things are going to be, and so she elicits the aid of another girl who she thinks is much more familiar and, you know, skilled in romance and relationships and you know, getting to know boys than she is, which, you know, come to find out actually isn't the case. So there's a lot of sort of like comedic conflict in that, and just sort of the group of girls like that come around together to research love in their love lab. It's a wonderful series. There's something about this really, you know, when I say a series like Robotics Notes, like sort of all of the pieces don't really fit together, and it's kind of less than the sum of its parts. This is the absolute opposite. All of the elements really come together. I think it's just much greater than the sum of its parts. Somehow it takes, you know, things that, I don't know, seem like they could just be pretty benign, and somehow it just makes something really, really wonderful. So that's my Blu-ray collection on anime. Sorry, my anime collection on Blu-ray. This, yeah, has gone on for about 30 minutes, so longer than I wanted, but there was just a lot of stuff to cover here. I hope it was enjoyable for you. I'm going to have a pickups video here coming up pretty soon. I'm going to try to be doing, you know, some more videos. I think, you know, 'tis the season a little bit. I feel a little bit more like making some of these, so I hope you'll join me again for more anime and video game related videos. Take care, guys.